everyone, this is Aditi and you are watching Legal Bites. Our today's topic of discussion is Introduction to Law of Torts. In this video, we will be talking about meaning of torts, definition of torts, characteristics of torts, objectives of torts, essential elements of tort, difference between tort and crime, difference between tort and breach of contract, and at last we will be taking up some questions. Now coming to the meaning of tort. A tort can be defined as a wrong independent of contract which gives rise to a civil remedy for which compensation can be recovered. The etymological meaning of the word tort is twisted and it is originated from a Latin term tortum. Now coming to the definition part. Winfield defines tort as tortious liability arises from the breach of duty which is primarily fixed by law. It is not towards person generally, and this breach is redressable by an action for unliquidated damages. Origin of tort. The concept of tort dated back to England, as many of the English laws has its origin to French, especially after the Norman conquest, when French was termed as the most spoken language in the England's judiciary. The idea behind the development of a law named tort was to enforce rights and duties, as everyone was assigned certain rights, but along with that, they were also assigned with certain duties, that is, not to hamper others' rights. Now, coming to the characteristics of tort. A tort is a private civil wrong in which injury in the form of infringement of legal right has been caused. The person who commits injury or commits tort is called tortfeasor or wrongdoer. And talking about the place where tort cases will be addressed, so the place of trial is civil court and this process is compoundable, which means the plaintiff can withdraw the suit filed by him and the remedy thus provided will be in the form of unliquidated damages. Now, what does unliquidated damages means? Unliquidated damages are granted by the courts on the basis of assessment of loss or injury caused to the party. Now, coming to the objectives of tort. The primary aim of tort is to provide relief to the injured party for harms caused by others or to impose liability on parties responsible for harms and to deter others from committing harmful acts. Tort shifts the burden of loss from the injured party to the party who is at fault. A party seeking redress through tort will ask for damages in the form of monetary compensation. Now, coming to the essential elements of tort. The first essential element is a wrongful act, and the second element is a legal damage. An act will be considered as a wrongful act as per tort law only if the act causes harm to the legal right of the other person. Now, this essential has a leading case law. Radheshyam vs. Gurprasad. What happened in this case was Mr. Gurprasad filed a suit against Mr. Radheshyam for permanent injunction restraining a flour mill in the premises occupied by the defendant. The plaintiff alleged that the flour mill was causing a lot of noise, which in turn was affecting the plaintiff's health severely. The defendant was held liable by the court, stating that by running a flour mill in the residential area amounts to nuisance and thus affecting the plaintiff's health severely. Now, coming to the difference between tort and crime. Our very first difference between tort and crime is the quantum of seriousness of tort is less as compared to that of crime. Our second difference is a tort affects the private right of a person, whereas crime affects the whole society. Our next difference is in tort, compensation is recovered from the wrongdoer, whereas in crime, the person committing crime will be punished. Our next difference is in tort, the action is brought in by the injured party, whereas in crime, the proceedings are conducted by the state. Our next difference is in tort, the person committing tort is called tortfeasor, whereas in crime, the person is called criminal. Our next difference is Tort is uncodified, whereas criminal law is codified. Codified and uncodified law means. Codified law is simply the body of statutes or ordinances and written laws passed by the legislative and administrative bodies, whereas uncodified laws are those that are originated from precedents, customs, and principles of jurisprudence. And another main difference between tort and crime is in tort, the remedy is unliquidated damages, whereas in crime, the remedy to crime is to punish the offender. Coming to the difference between tort and breach of contract. Tort is a violation of right in rem, that is, right against the world at large, whereas breach of contract is an infringement of right in personam, that is, right against person. Tort occurs due to the breach of duty, which is not undertaken by the party, but it is imposed by the law, whereas breach of contract results from breach of duty, which is undertaken by the parties themselves. Our next difference is there is no doctrine of privity in tort, whereas in breach of contract, privity between the parties must be proven. Our next difference is in tort, damages are in the form of unliquidated damages, whereas in breach of contract, the damages will be in the form of liquidated damages. Now, coming to some questions. Our first question is what is the relationship between a wrongful act and legal damage? So, the answer to this is an act will be a wrongful act only if the act causes harm to the legal right of a person, thus causing legal damage. Now, coming to second question, why is law of tort uncodified? Law of tort is uncodified because it mainly focuses on customs and precedents rather than focusing on statutes and written laws. Hey everyone, if you find this video useful, do like, share and comment. We'll meet with the next video very soon. Till then, stay happy, stay safe.